The rim of human-controlled space shimmered against the black velvet of the cosmos, streaked with distant suns and drifting nebulae. Captain Mara Kepler leaned against the polished rail of the bridge on USS Horizon, watching the expanse with eyes that had learned to read patterns in the void. Patrol routes were routine, predictable, but she knew better than anyone that the galaxy rewarded vigilance more than complacency. "Captain, I'm seeing fluctuations in sensor range 12. Could be cosmic interference," Lieutenant Ryan Tarek reported, his voice steady, betraying only a hint of curiosity. He gestured toward the holographic display, where ghostly blips danced across a grid. "Cosmic interference?" Mara raised an eyebrow. "Or something hiding just beyond the edge?" Ryan smirked. "You're thinking aliens again, aren't you?" Mara allowed herself a faint grin. "If we don't think aliens, aliens will think us extinct." She straightened, scanning the data. Patterns flickered in the sensor readouts, inconsistent yet deliberate. Something, or someone, was out there. Around her, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. Dr. Alara Voss, the ship's lead engineer, crouched over a console, fingers flying across controls that no human fleet had fully mastered yet. "Hyperjump calibrations are holding steady," she reported. "If we need to perform the new vector maneuvers, the ship can handle it. But I'd advise caution. The system is still experimental." "Caution is a luxury we rarely get," Mara said, her tone both wry and pragmatic. "But I trust your judgment, Doctor. Keep me posted." The crew continued their routines, adjusting course vectors, scanning nearby star systems, checking colony traffic. Humanity had spread across 36 star systems in less than a century, but despite their technological strides, most alien species still dismissed them as inconsequential. Mara had grown accustomed to the subtle underestimation, a dangerous advantage. "Captain," Ryan interrupted, pointing to the viewport. "You see that?" Mara followed his line of sight. A faint glimmer of metallic reflection drifted among the stars, too precise to be natural. "A scout," she said softly, tension threading through her voice. She activated the long-range sensors. The blip was fast, agile, far faster than any routine survey craft. Alara leaned over, eyes narrowing. "Solari signature. Definitely not human. If it's a scout, there's a fleet behind it." Mara's stomach tightened. "Then let's make sure they don't find out how many humans are out here." Her voice was calm, controlled, but there was steel beneath it. She tapped a sequence into the navigation console. The Horizon adjusted its vector subtly, slipping through the shadows of a nearby asteroid belt. "Slipping through the belt will mask our energy signatures," Mara explained. "We want to be seen only when we choose to be." Ryan glanced at her, a grin tugging at the corner of his lips. "You always did have a flair for the dramatic, Captain." "Survival is dramatic," Mara replied. She turned her attention back to the readouts. The scout moved with calculated precision, likely relaying data back to its fleet. Every instinct screamed caution, but Mara knew the human advantage wasn't in brute strength, it was in improvisation. Hours passed in tense silence. The Horizon navigated asteroid clusters, weaving through debris with the precision of a dancer. Mara studied the sensor readings, calculating probabilities faster than any AI could display. "Captain," Alara said finally, her voice low. "I'm picking up something unusual. Energy spikes, small, controlled bursts, not standard propulsion. Whoever is out there, they're testing something." Mara's pulse quickened. "Testing or baiting?" she murmured. "Prepare shields and vector the auxiliary engines for rapid deployment. I don't intend to find out the hard way." The bridge fell silent, every officer absorbed in their tasks. In the quiet, Mara allowed herself a moment to consider the stakes. Each human colony in this sector represented years of sacrifice, thousands of lives, and technological secrets that, if exposed, could shift the balance of power. Her role wasn't just to command a ship, it was to protect humanity's reputation in a galaxy that rarely afforded it respect. A sudden ping cut through the stillness, a warning. The scout had locked onto the horizon, its position broadcasting back to a fleet Mara couldn't yet see. They know we're here, Ryan said, his tone neutral but sharp. Mara exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. Good. Let them know us. But let's make sure they regret it. She pressed a hand to the console, initiating a subtle but untraceable course change. The ship's hyperjump system hummed quietly beneath her, ready to perform maneuvers the aliens believed impossible. The scout vanished from sensors in an instant, leaving only a faint residual glow. Mara didn't relax. They've seen our ghosts, she said. Whatever comes next, it won't be a routine patrol. Elara's brow furrowed. You think they'll attack? Mara shook her head. Not yet. They're gathering data, assessing what humans are capable of. That's where we'll have the edge. Humans don't fight like anyone else. They improvise, adapt, and when necessary, strike from places no one expects. Ryan leaned back in his chair, exhaling. So, basically, we're going to scare the galaxy without them realizing it. Mara allowed herself a short, tight smile. Exactly. But let's remember, if they underestimate us, they'll make mistakes. And we'll be ready. Outside the viewport, stars blurred as the horizon adjusted course toward uncharted space. For Mara and her crew, routine patrol had ended. The calm before the storm was over. Somewhere beyond the edges of known space, an alien fleet waited, unaware that humanity's secret strength wasn't in numbers or firepower, but in cunning, courage, and the unpredictable brilliance of its people. As the ship glided forward, Mara's mind raced through calculations, contingencies, and possibilities. This was the edge of human expansion, the frontier of both opportunity and danger. And she, Captain Mara Kepler, intended to ensure humanity survived, and thrived, against odds no one else thought possible. The horizon drifted silently among the edges of a dense asteroid cluster, the blackness of space punctuated only by distant stars and the occasional shimmer of drifting debris. Mara Kepler stood at the command console, eyes scanning the holographic display, every instinct alert. The sensor blips from earlier had intensified, and something about the patterns felt deliberate, precise. Captain, Ryan said, leaning over the console, we're picking up multiple contacts. At least 6 ships, signatures consistent with Zalari battle-class vessels. Mara's jaw tightened. 6? That's just the Vanguard. They're testing us, gauging our responses. She gestured toward the viewport. Keep our course steady but subtle. We don't want to appear aggressive, yet. Ryan frowned. They'll assume we're cornered. That could provoke them. Mara gave a short, sharp laugh. Good. Let them assume. We'll control the narrative. Dr. Elara Voss worked feverishly at the engineering console. Shields are at full capacity, Captain, and auxiliary engines are primed. But if they try a direct assault, even for a moment, we'll need to be ready to hyperjump. Mara's gaze never left the incoming fleet's approach on the sensors. Not just ready, she said. We'll outmaneuver them. Humans survive because we don't play by anyone else's rules. The Zalari ships emerged from the darkness, angular and black, bristling with weapon arrays that dwarfed the horizon's modest armaments. Admiral Zarak Vowell's flagship led the formation, its hull gleaming with lethal precision. Mara felt a thrill of tension, a mixture of fear and excitement. This was what she had trained for. Open a channel, she commanded. A crystalline voice filled the bridge, crisp, cold, and dripping with disdain. Human vessel, it said. This is Admiral Zarak Vowell of the Zalari Collective. You are trespassing in forbidden space. Surrender your ship and fleet, or be destroyed. Ryan muttered under his breath. Straight to the point. No subtlety. Mara smiled faintly. Humans never needed subtlety when brains outweigh brawn. Let's see how this plays out. She pressed the intercom. Admiral Vowell, we are exploring uncharted systems. We pose no threat, yet we will defend ourselves if provoked. You may wish to reconsider your assumptions about human capabilities. The response was a sharp, derisive laugh. Human capabilities? Pathetic. We have studied your species. You are slow, inefficient, predictable. You will comply. Mara leaned forward, her voice calm, unwavering. Then you haven't seen us yet. The Zalari fleet shifted in formation, signaling readiness for attack. Mara felt the weight of responsibility press down. Hundreds of colonists, her crew, and the reputation of humanity were all riding on what happened next. Ryan, prepare evasive maneuvers. Ilara, I want full diagnostics on hyperjump vectors. We might need them sooner than expected. Yes, Captain, they replied in unison. The bridge hummed with controlled tension. Suddenly, a streak of light tore past the horizon's port side, the scout from before. It had returned, and now its trajectory intersected with the human ship. Mara's eyes narrowed. It's testing us again. Let it come. The scout accelerated, zigzagging unpredictably. Mara's hand danced over the console, activating auxiliary thrusters. In a heartbeat, the horizon twisted in space, dodging the incoming fire. Energy beams flared, striking asteroids nearby, sending shards tumbling through zero gravity. Impressive, Ryan muttered. They didn't expect that. Mara's lips curled. They never do. Humans improvise. She tapped a sequence, and the horizon performed a sudden micro-hyper jump, disappearing from sensors just as the scout tried to lock on again. The fleet commander's display blinked with confusion. On the Zalari flagship, Zarak's tentacle-like appendages clenched over the control console. Impossible! He hissed. Hyperjumps within the engagement zone. Humans, they can't. They just did, a junior officer replied, fear edged in the voice. Back on the horizon, Mara allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. They're panicking, she said quietly. Good. Panic is the first step toward mistakes. Ryan smirked. We're basically ghosts to them. Mara's eyes scanned the asteroid field. Ghosts who can hit back if necessary. But right now, we're teaching them humility. Minutes stretched into tense hours. The Zalari fleet attempted to flank, but the horizon twisted and turned with uncanny precision, making micro-hyper jumps just out of weapon range. Every time the aliens thought they had an advantage, humans were already in a position they hadn't predicted. Ilara wiped sweat from her brow. Captain, we can't keep this up forever. Engines can take it, but prolonged jumps risk system overloads. I know, Mara replied, her mind racing. We're not trying to escape forever. We're teaching them to respect humans. She pressed another command. Plot an exit vector through that uncharted sector. We lure them in, then vanish on our terms. Ryan glanced at the display, skepticism in his eyes. You think they'll follow blindly? They'll follow, Mara said, eyes cold and calculating. Arrogance makes them predictable. They underestimate us, and that's where we win. The scout streaked past once more, trying to anticipate the human's path. Mara grinned. Let's see how they handle improvisation. The horizon twisted again, then vanished in a shimmering micro-jump, leaving the Zalari fleet scanning empty space, baffled. On the flagship, Zarak's eyes widened. They're faster, more adaptable. We misjudged them. A sense of controlled triumph filled the horizon's bridge. Mara's crew shared quiet glances, relief mixed with exhilaration. Humanity had survived its first real test against the Zalari, and in doing so, they had already rewritten the rules. Mara leaned back, hands resting on the console. This is only the beginning, she murmured. They'll come back, and next time, we'll be ready for more than scouts. The horizon glided into the shadows of uncharted space, its engines quiet, its crew alert. Somewhere beyond the stars, an alien admiral panicked, struggling to grasp that humans, small, underestimated, and seemingly ordinary, were capable of defying every expectation. And that defiance was only just beginning. The horizon cut through the darkness like a blade, weaving between drifting asteroids and collapsing debris fields. Mara Kepler's eyes never left the holographic display. The Zalari fleet had regrouped, their numbers multiplied since the initial encounter. 6 ships had become a dozen, then 18, each moving with lethal precision. Captain, Ryan Tarek said, voice tight. They've established a blockade pattern. If we continue on this trajectory, they'll trap the convoy in the outer sector. Mara exhaled, gripping the edge of the console. Then we don't continue. We adapt. Humanity survives by making the impossible probable. Dr. Alara Voss raised an eyebrow. Captain, the convoy behind us, there are civilians. Their shields are fragile. We can't risk a frontal engagement. Mara nodded. We won't. They'll expect a direct fight. Let's make them wrong. She tapped into the navigation matrix, calculating complex vectors through uncharted star lanes. The plan relied on improvisation and speed, two things humans excelled at. Outside, the stars streaked past as the horizon accelerated. Mara's crew worked in near silence, the tension thick but controlled. Every movement had a purpose, every decision could save, or endanger, hundreds of lives. Incoming transmission, Ryan announced. The holographic display flickered, revealing Admiral Zarak's angular visage. His eyes glimmered with fury. You are persistent humans, Zarak's voice boomed. Do you think clever tricks will save you? Surrender, and perhaps we spare your convoy. Mara's expression remained calm. You misjudge us, Admiral. Humans survive because we adapt, not because we obey. Try to catch us if you can. Zarak's appendages flexed over his console. Then you will die trying. Ryan muttered. Cheerful fellow. Focus, Mara said sharply. They'll waste energy on aggression. We'll use it against them. She activated the first micro-hyperjump. The horizon shimmered, vanishing from sensors, leaving only an empty trail where it had been. The Zalari ships scanned the void, confusion rippling through the fleet. Mara smiled faintly. They think they understand humans, but they only understand their own expectations. Behind them, the convoy of civilian vessels drifted, some struggling with navigation in the denser asteroid lanes. Mara's mind raced. Every choice had consequences. She could not afford heroics that risked the innocents. Alara, boost shield synchronizers for the convoy. Ryan, take point with the vanguard. We'll lead them through the side lanes and make them follow us into the hazard zone. Minutes later, the fleet began pursuit. Mara led them on a winding path through collapsing stellar debris, each move calculated to exploit the Zalari's rigidity. When the aliens attempted to anticipate her route, the horizon executed sudden lateral jumps, slipping through openings that were barely visible on the navigation grid. They're following the same predictable path, Ryan said, eyes narrowing. We can outmaneuver them here. Exactly, Mara replied. Humans think laterally. Aliens think linearly. She adjusted course toward a narrow nebula, its swirling gas clouds dense enough to mask energy signatures but treacherous to navigate. The Zalari hesitated, scanning for safe passage. They're hesitant, Mara observed. Good. Hesitation is weakness. Inside the nebula, turbulence tugged at the horizon, but the ship responded smoothly under Alara's guidance. Microthrusters compensating, she said, voice tight with concentration. We're clear, for now. Ryan leaned toward Mara. Captain, if we continue, they may force a collision course in the narrow lanes. Mara's eyes flicked to the convoy. Then we make them think they're cornering us. Humans don't flee, we provoke mistakes. Prepare decoy drones, deploy when I give the signal. The horizon surged forward, releasing a cloud of reflective drones into the nebula. Zalari sensors picked up multiple contacts, each mimicking human ship signatures. Mara's lips curved into a thin smile. Let's see who panics first. On the flagship, Zarak's sensors flickered. Impossible, he hissed. They've multiplied. Focus fire! But the drones forced the Zalari to spread their firepower, fragmenting their formation. The horizon slipped through a sudden gap between gas clouds and asteroids, evading concentrated fire. Mara felt the familiar adrenaline, the sharp edge of strategy turning to execution. Ryan exhaled. They're following blindly. They always do when they underestimate us, Mara replied. Keep the convoy aligned. Avoid collisions. Humanity wins when we survive together. Minutes passed like hours as the chase continued. Zalari attacks grew more desperate, their fleet cohesion weakening in the unpredictable terrain. Mara's calculations exploited every flaw: lateral jumps, asteroid cover, decoy signatures, and sudden bursts of acceleration. "Elara, we're approaching the secondary jump zone," Mara said. "Prepare engines. We'll exit the nebula on our terms." The convoy's ships struggled but held formation. "Shields stabilizing," Elara confirmed. "We can make the jump. Timing is crucial." Ryan glanced at the approaching Zalari. "They'll follow?" "They will try," Mara said, her gaze cold and steady. "But we'll choose the exit vector they can't predict. Humans don't fight like the rest of the galaxy, they improvise. They adapt. They survive." The Horizon executed the jump with precision. One moment, they were tangled in the nebula's chaos. The next, they emerged in open space, the convoy intact, the Zalari fleet scrambling behind them. Mara allowed herself a brief nod of satisfaction. "They'll need time to reassess," she said quietly. "And we've bought the convoy's safety. That's what matters." Ryan shook his head, half amazed, half exhausted. "Captain, we just danced through a storm with a dozen warships breathing down our necks." Mara smiled, tight and controlled. "And humans led the dance. Remember this, Ryan, survival isn't luck. It's thinking differently than everyone else, and acting when the odds look impossible." Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into streaks of light. The Horizon and the convoy moved steadily forward, leaving a frustrated, battered Zalari fleet behind. Mara's mind already raced ahead. The aliens would return, smarter, more determined. But humans had survived, adapted, and triumphed in ways no one expected. Somewhere in the galaxy, Admiral Zarak Val reeled, trying to comprehend that humans, fragile, underestimated, and few, were capable of defying every assumption. And Mara Kepler, at the helm of the Horizon, knew the next encounter would be even greater, testing human cunning against an enemy unwilling to accept limits. For now, the chase was won. But the war of wits, and of survival, had only begun. The Horizon edged into the asteroid field, jagged rocks looming like silent sentinels against the black void. Mara Kepler stood at the bridge console, eyes scanning every blip, every shadow. This was not just a chase anymore. It was a trap set with careful precision, by humans for aliens. "Captain, the fleet is closing fast," Ryan Tarek reported, fingers dancing over tactical controls. "They've formed a semicircular approach pattern. If they push forward, they'll collide with the outer field." Mara's lips tightened into a measured smile. "Good. Let them think they control the battlefield. The field is ours. Every rock, every crevice gives us advantage. Humans survive when we turn danger into opportunity." Dr. Elara Vaz adjusted the shields, her voice sharp. "Engines are ready for multiple micro-hyper jumps. But this terrain is unforgiving. One miscalculation, and the convoy is toast." Mara's gaze shifted to the convoy behind them, a string of human transport vessels, their hulls glowing faintly under emergency shields. "We won't miscalculate," she said. "We control the chaos." The Zalari fleet surged forward, the flagship leading, weapons primed, confidence unshaken. Zarak's cold voice echoed over comms. "Human ship, you cannot hide forever. Surrender now, or the collective will crush you." Mara shook her head slightly, almost to herself. "They never learn." She tapped a sequence. The Horizon shifted laterally, slipping between two massive asteroids. The Zalari opened fire, energy bolts sizzling and striking rock faces, scattering debris. The blasts barely grazed the human vessels. Ryan muttered, eyes wide. They're funneling us. We've led them into a kill zone." "Exactly," Mara said calmly. "And we control every move inside it." She pressed a series of rapid commands. The Horizon executed a micro-hyperjump, appearing between asteroids no one else could have predicted. A decoy signal split from the ship, mirroring its signature. The Zalari fleet hesitated. For every human ship they targeted, a second, identical blip darted in a different direction. confusion spread through the alien formation. Zarak's tentacle-like appendages slammed on controls. Impossible! They cannot be in two places at once. His eyes burned with frustration, yet determination held. Concentrate fire. Destroy them! Captain, Ryan said, voice tense. The convoy is struggling with navigation. Some ships are off course, shields flickering. Mara's jaw tightened. Then we provide a path. Clear, precise, unpredictable. Elara, lead them through the asteroid maze while we hold the fleet's attention. Minutes passed in a tense rhythm of jumps, evasions, and feints. Every Zalari attempt to intercept was countered with human improvisation, lateral bursts, decoy swarms, and calculated jumps timed to environmental hazards. The asteroids themselves became weapons. Rocks displaced by alien fire careened into pursuit ships, forcing evasive maneuvers. Captain, they're breaking formation! Ryan exclaimed. Some ships collided with debris, others are retreating. Mara allowed herself a brief, sharp smile. Humans fight smart. Let them scatter in their arrogance. She glanced at the convo. All ships maintain formation. Small corrections, minor jumps, stay alive. Elara wiped sweat from her brow. We can keep this up long enough to get the convoy safe. Engines holding. Shields stable. But the fleet, they're not going to give up easily. They will, Mara said, eyes cold. They'll learn that humans aren't predictable. They'll realize, too late, that arrogance is vulnerability. A sudden flare illuminated the viewport. One Zalari destroyer had misjudged an asteroid's drift, colliding and fragmenting in a brilliant explosion. Mara's crew inhaled sharply. No humans were harmed. Captain, Ryan said quietly, awe in his voice. They're panicking. The flagship is maneuvering erratically. Mara leaned forward. And that's when we strike, not with weapons, but with precision, control, and audacity. She tapped the final sequence. The Horizon executed a series of micro-hyper jumps in rapid succession, weaving between asteroids with impossible accuracy. The decoy signatures amplified, creating the illusion of dozens of ships. The Zalari fired blindly, energy bolts detonating against rocks, wasting their power and coordination. Zarak's frustration boiled over. This cannot be. Humans, they should not be able to do this. They did, Mara whispered, almost to herself. She pressed the intercom. All ships, exit vectors ready. Evacuate the asteroid field on my mark. The convoy surged forward, shields shimmering, engines thrumming in unison. Each vessel followed Mara's carefully plotted path, avoiding debris and energy fire. The Zalari fleet, disorganized and battered, struggled to maintain pursuit. Jump in 3, 2, 1, Mara commanded. A synchronized surge of micro-hyper jumps sent the Horizon and convoy into open space, leaving the fragmented Zalari fleet behind. The bridge erupted in quiet cheers, tempered by exhaustion. Mara allowed herself a brief nod of pride. We're alive, the convoy's intact, and they've learned their lesson. Humans are not easy prey. Ryan exhaled, shaking his head. I can't believe we pulled that off. They'll be talking about this in the collective for decades. Mara's gaze returned to the stars. Let them. Let the galaxy see humans as unpredictable, adaptable, and dangerous when underestimated. Elara leaned back, finally relaxing her tense shoulders. Captain, the convoy is stable. Shields are full. Engines holding. We did it. Mara's eyes softened, though the fire remained. We did. But this is just the beginning. The Zalari will return, stronger, more cautious. And when they do, we'll be ready, not with brute force, but with cunning and courage. Ryan glanced at the viewport, stars stretching into streaks as the convoy moved forward. It's strange, even after all that chaos, I feel proud. Humans really are different. Mara smiled faintly. Different, yes. But we survived because of it. Remember this, Ryan, victory isn't just about weapons. It's about thinking beyond the obvious, trusting in each other, and daring to act when others hesitate. That's humanity's edge. Outside, the remnants of the Zalari fleet drifted in confusion, their formation shattered, their arrogance exposed. Somewhere, Admiral Zarak Vowel seethed, unable to comprehend that a handful of humans had turned his superior fleet into a scattered, reactive force. And inside the horizon, Mara Kepler turned her eyes to the unknown expanse ahead. Human colonies were safe, for now, and the stars awaited, full of dangers, possibilities, and challenges. Humanity had survived again, not because of overwhelming power, but because of ingenuity, courage, and the refusal to be predictable. The galaxy had taken note. And Mara Kepler, at the helm of the horizon, knew that humanity's legend was only beginning.